Well, welcome to episode 3 of our Meet the Church. I hope you've enjoyed the previous 2 episodes and have been able to kind of learn something new about some of the people we've been interviewing, maybe even meet them for the first time. Now, today we're going to meet someone who, quite frankly, during this lockdown has been absolutely vital to the church keeping connected. You may not have seen his face, you may have heard his voice, but it's really great to welcome Paul Edwards with us this morning. Paul, welcome. It's good to have you here.
Thank you.
Paul, I'm going to ask you a few questions first, but
Sure.
just about how you're coping. Because I think the most important thing, we want to know how you're coping with the lockdown at the moment.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, the lockdown really hasn't made that much of a difference to me personally. I'm retired now, so I've the time's my own. But we've got some of the family living with us. So we've got 3 generations under the roof. So it's a full-on day.
So it must be a bit of a change going from being retired and the time is your own to almost having to, just having a full house. I mean, how many people are actually living under the roof at the moment of your house?
Well, we've got Carolyn, my wife, and Olivia, my youngest daughter. Then we've got Matthew, who's my younger son, and his wife, Danny. And then we've got Lottie and Josie, the 2 grandchildren.
So it's a bit of a full-on time at the moment then.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I mean,
are you enjoying spending more time with the grandchildren than perhaps you would have done normally?
Yes, very much so. I mean, Matt and Danny live up in Kenilworth normally, so it's a 3.5-hour trek up to see them. So seeing them all the time and watching them grow and develop is really special. Especially for me, given that when Ben and Matthew, that's Ben's my eldest son and Matthew's my youngest son, when they were both small, I was away at sea on submarines a lot of times, so I missed their development. So it's almost like I'm regaining lost time.
I was going to say, Paul, when we do see you on a Sunday morning, when you pop up, you usually got a picture of a submarine behind you, haven't you? And
yes, that's right. Yes, I spent 23 years in the Navy in diesel electric submarines, doing all sorts of things that can and can't be spoken of. I mean, I was on the only conventional submarine in the Falklands in 1982. Survived that one. But I've been out. Sorry.
In one sense, close confinement's not an issue for you then.
Never. No. I mean, if you imagine a standard room of 12 by 8. Well, I mean, I was living in close proximity with 20 other grown men for months on end. So, this lockdown doesn't make an awful lot.
Doddle. Paul, have you got any tips then on what you've been doing or what as a family you've been doing during lockdown that's helped?
Well, I mean, the nice, we're fortunate we've got a garden, so the nice weather means that we can go outside. I've also learnt some more bread making arts, and we're making sourdough bread now, we're making yogurt, we do pasties. There's lots of things that you can do, and there's lots of interesting and innovative stuff coming up online, which really does help if you're stuck or bored. There are lots of the schools, and lots of organisations are putting things on for you to help,
which is really good, isn't it? And I think different places have stepped up, and that's huge. Paul, one of the reasons that I've kind of asked to interview you is, and I kind of alluded it at the start, we may not see your face on a Sunday morning or in all the technology necessarily, but you've been instrumental in behind the scenes in making sure the church stays connected with Zoom, which I know has been both the joy and the bane of your life, and with other areas. And just talk us through how important you think the technology's been during this time and some of the kind of things that you've been looking at and thinking about with the technology during this lockdown.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, first off, I mean, yes, I'm a part of it, but it's a real team effort. I mean, it's there are 4 or 5 of us actually on a Sunday who are in one way or another are really helping to make the whole church service what it is. But for my part, I mean, I have 4 screens open on a Sunday morning. I have one screen specifically looking at all of the people who have joined the meeting, because although Zoom has certain facilities to stop video from popping up and stop audio, they don't work as well as they should. So I am frantically jumping between 2 screens, trying to stop the top of people's heads coming up, or people, you know, sitting there enjoying the church service in their best Sunday pajamas from appearing live on Facebook.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's been quite a journey, hasn't it? I think we've probably between yourself, myself, and Mike Temple as well, we've kind of had to kind of, I don't know, learn Zoom while running at the same time.
Very much.
I know we haven't got everything perfect, but we've certainly tried to respond, and I think that's been a real testament, hasn't it? So kind of,
it has, yeah. I mean, we've turned a technology that really isn't designed in any way, shape, or form for what we're trying to do, and making the best of it. And the testament is, you know, we're getting between 55 and 60 people joining via Zoom every Sunday, and then between 15 and 20 live on Facebook, and then, well, last Sunday's service, I think it was 496 views. So we're actually reaching out and touching far more people during this time than we would have had we just met in the building on Culver Road.
And that's the amazing thing, isn't it? And I think, you know, those individual logons to Zoom as well, we don't know if there's 1, 2, 4 people behind each logon as well. But the interesting thing has been, is, as you've alluded, that actually, I mean, when I'm on a Sunday morning, obviously I'm leading a bit, but I can see a little bit of the behind the scenes stuff. And there's people logging on who I don't have the foggiest who they are. And it seems almost as if you said that actually during this time of lockdown, we've been able to reach more people than we would have done if we were in our building and there wasn't a lockdown.
Yeah, that's very much the case. I mean, I'm the same. I have no idea, because a lot of people don't put their names in. So we have a lot of mum's iPad or dad's Android, or the name of the computer system. And it can be a bit of a headache if I'm trying to look between 2 screens to find the next person to unmute to do part of the service.
I remember the first Sunday, I think you had to mute someone for reading, and they said my ID is iPad, and there was about 6 or 7 iPads.
Yeah,
you had to go through. So no,
but the more we, but the more we do, the more we
do it. I think we've kind of really, like I say, you know, the technology and you and the team have kind of really made that work, and we're really grateful for that. Paul, I think one of the questions that we're kind of starting to play about now is how does this technology help us when we go forward? I think, you know, I think me and you both will be advocates for streaming our services online going forward. But we're going to go into this funny period, aren't we? And I think you'll probably be as affected as well, because I know you're having to be very careful with, you know, you had a journey with cancer, 2-3 years ago. So you're having to be very careful. What does this next phase look like, do you think, when actually there's going to be people who can go back to church, whenever that will be? I'm not saying it's anytime soon, but there'll still be those in lockdown. How do you think technology can help us at that moment?
Well, yeah, that's it, Tim. I mean, I think that what will happen is some people will be keen and eager to go back to the building in Culver Road to meet as a community again, because one things that Zoom doesn't give us, which I think it was Tony alluded to, was he liked to sing in a group. And I know we tried trying to get together to sing over Zoom, and for one reason or another, it doesn't work. So there are those who would prefer to meet together as a community and are able to, will go back to the building. But if we're also incorporating the Zoom type thing for those who need or want to remain isolated for whatever reason, doesn't mean to say that they're still not an integral part. The issue, I suppose, will be is at the end of the service, when in the building, we would all go to the back and enjoy tea and coffee together. How do we still incorporate those who are enjoying the service from home?
Yeah, it's a huge question, because one of the joys of Zoom, and I think one of the things that maybe didn't surprise us, but one of the elements that has kind of really people have loved is not the service, which I'm sure they appreciate, and I hope they do anyway, at least. Yeah. But there's actually been the breakout rooms afterwards, hasn't it, where people in small groups have met, got their coffee, and chatted, and that's been vital, hasn't it?
It has. It's been really good, because I mean the way that we end up doing it is we never assign people to the same breakout room on a Sunday, so it's very random who ends up in a small group of 6 or 7 people together. So there are folk who have never spoken to each other when they've actually been in close proximity, who are now the best of friends over Zoom, and probably can't wait to go into the building so that they can actually shake each other's hands, give somebody a hug, if that's allowed, of course, and actually meet face to face. And even to our, one of our mission partners out in Chad has been joining regularly. And it's great to be able to hear from other parts of the world how the lockdown is going on, what's going on, how people are coping, how they're worshipping, and so on. So, yeah, I mean, there should be almost a global Zoom community going forward, I think.
And it's interesting, is it, like I say, because we've had people worship with us on a Sunday who are in a different country. Friends of the church from old who've moved away and therefore, have dropped in. We have people who are loosely connected via family who've been joining in. So actually, in one sense, the technology and this time of lockdown, I think, has opened our eyes to new things that, if quite frankly we were still carrying on doing the same old thing, we wouldn't even given 2 thoughts about, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, it has. It's given us a real push in the direction of how church, if you want to call it church, it is done in this new age, where we've got people for whom it's physically impossible anyway for them to get to church because of age, distance, or whatever. But now they're still feeling part of that community, feeling the love and the fellowship that surrounds the whole session on a Sunday. But not Sunday, because that's the thing, is we've got all sorts of groups during the week meeting, and I've had a request from there's one group of gentlemen who shall remain nameless in the church, who used to meet up on a twice a month for a bacon sandwich at the China Fleet Club. They're now going to meet virtually twice a month, virtually watching each other eat a bacon sandwich over Zoom.
It's brilliant, isn't it? And I think I'll also make people remain nameless, but there are those in the church who, quite frankly, we were worried about because of the technology. I know you spent a lot of time with people individually going through over Zoom, trying to help them. But we've got people in our church who perhaps we would probably say were technophobes beforehand. Now embracing it. Are there every Sunday, every meeting, and I think a big credit to yourself and also others, because actually you spent time making sure and going through that. So that kind of leads me on to my next question, which I'm going to juggle the last 2 questions around a bit, Paul. But has this changed your view of church? Has it changed the way you see church? Has it changed the way you think church could be going forward?
Well, I don't think it's actually changed my view. It's confirmed. We've got a building in Culver Road, which we call church, but that's not the church. The church is all of the people. And despite us being segregated through this time, we're still together as a community, as well as the Zoom meetings. I'm sure, we're phoning people up, making sure people are okay. So it's just confirming that actually the word church doesn't mean a building. It means a community of people from very different walks of life, age ranges, coming together because of their love of God, wanting to meet together and joining together as one large family.
Yeah.
And going forward, we have the ability to open that up to more people who would like to come and perhaps feel uncomfortable coming into a building, but can join via this Zoom medium and still just, and perhaps then once they're comfortable that way, then come into the building.
And it's been amazing that because all of our children's groups, youth groups, and house groups have still, the majority of them have still met over Zoom. And I've even had a request that because one person can't get out, or the evenings are difficult to get out, actually, even when we get back to whatever normal is going to be, that maybe we still have a Zoom house group that meets on an evening, so that those who struggle to get out can actually, and I think you're right, it's kind of made the church wake up, I think, in one sense, and said, the way we did things is not wrong, but actually there's so much more we could be doing if we truly believe that the people are the church. Before. So my final question to you, Paul, before we start to wrap up, has this lockdown just brought something new into your understanding of your own faith? Has it shed any light into a new understanding, or do you think your faith is just the same but maybe stronger or weaker? Or
that's a difficult one to answer, but I struggle a lot with my faith over the years for various reasons, and the question always comes back is, why did God allow this to happen in the first place, and so on. But I think what I've come to realize, especially having grandchildren running around under my feet all the time, is we're God's children, and like our own children, they only learn by making mistakes. We're not there stopping them from making the mistakes. We're there to pick them up and wrap them in our love, and hold them and console them and guide them after the mistake. And I think that's, for me, that's how my understanding of my faith has changed. God's not there ruling my life, every single thing that I'm doing. He's there to make sure that when I go wrong, he picks me up, dusts me off, pushes me in the right direction again, and says, there you go, now you've learned something more about us. And again, back alluding to something that Tony and Catherine said about prayer. Prayer is something, again, that doesn't come naturally to me, and I find it difficult to pray openly. But God's already thought of that. He gave us the Lord's Prayer. Yeah. So that there is, for those people who find it difficult to pray out loud or as a community, here is a prayer that everyone, used to be taught. I don't know whether they've been taught in school, but they're taught now. So we can have a completely open, out loud prayer session where we're giving God the praise he deserves, and thanking him for all the things he's done.
Paul, thank you. And I think the church want to say a big thank you to you and the team for keeping us connected. I've not at one point during this time been jealous by your broadband speeds.
I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, Paul's getting over, if anyone's technical, over 100 megabits per second, and I'm struggling with about 12. So Paul often sent me photos of him uploading things at ridiculous speeds when it took me hours. So, but Paul, we are genuinely thankful for all that you're doing, and we hope that as we continue this way, we'll be able to use the technology wisely to help us stay connected.
Yeah, I think we need to embrace technology even more to make the church. Give the church the ability to reach even more people than it has before, because there is a good message there that God loves us, and he wants us to be part of his big global family.
Paul, thank you very much. Well, thank you to Paul, and you can follow us and continue to follow us on Facebook and YouTube as well on the Meet the Church series. Please do join us on a Sunday morning if you're able, or join us with the different groups. Get in touch, keep in touch with us, and we'd love to hear how we can serve you and how we can help you to know the great message of Jesus Christ. Until next time, see you soon.